This story is somewhat creepy but sad as well. This happened to my dad. A few years ago, my dad was walking our dog, Colby, at the park in our neighborhood. This park was surrounded by a small field and the closest house was probably a good 100 feet away. There also is a small pond located next to the park. We took Colby for frequent walks as he was a very nice active yellow lab with a lot of separation anxiety. It was a summer night, probably around 8 or 9 p.m. If no one was at the park, he usually would let Colby off his leash to run around, chase the geese and get some of his energy out. He was only able to do this if the park was empty because Colby was super friendly and would run up to anyone to be petted. This particular night they were playing fetch. Colby ran to get the ball, turned around. As he was running towards my dad, he stopped abruptly. He seemed to be focused on something past my dad. My dad turned to see what it was and sees a man walking slowly in their direction. Now this wouldn't be as creepy if it weren't for Colby's reaction. Our dog, who rarely ever barked or growled, perked into a hunting stance and started to growl at the man. As the man got closer, Colby started to walk towards him and began barking. My dad immediately realized that this man did not have good intentions. My dad said he kind of stood frozen, waiting for the man to speak up. He didn't do so until he was a few feet away. He did seem to be a little frightened by the dog's reaction. The man was an older Indian gentleman dressed in traditional religious clothing. He asked my dad very calmly, "What are you doing here?" My dad gestures towards Colby and says he's just here walking his dog. "Why?" My dad, confused by the question but being polite, says something along the lines of, just to get some exercise. Is everything okay?" The man looked offended by him asking such a thing. He says sternly, "Yes, but it's time for you to leave now." My dad realized that the guy was right. He got the dog on the leash and got out of there. He looked back to make sure the guy wasn't following. He wasn't, but he did watch my dad walk away. My dad came home and told us what happened. Although it seemed bizarre, we agreed that it wasn't worth calling the police over. The next morning my dad woke up and took Colby back to the park to see if anything seemed odd. As he got closer, he saw multiple emergency vehicles and police tape surrounding the field. My dad got close and an officer came over stating that the park was closed. My dad tried to explain what happened last night and the officer's expression changed. He told my dad that the man he saw last night had committed suicide in the pond. Someone had seen the body earlier in the morning and phoned the police. My dad felt regret at this and wondered if he had called the police if things would have turned out differently. This can serve as a reminder that someone who might seem creepy could actually be mentally ill or have some demons in their closet. Also, it amazes me how dogs can sense one's energy from so far away. Colby passed away earlier this year, but he was truly an amazing dog. Number 2. Creepy Uber driver. For context, my friend and I, who are part of this story, are both girls. My friend and I were going up to Massachusetts to visit a college campus together. We planned on staying at an Airbnb that was close to the college. Unfortunately, the Airbnb was about an hour and 40 minutes away from the airport. The only way we could get from one place to another was to take an Uber. I ordered the Uber and it arrived in about 15 minutes. As the Uber pulled up, the Uber driver, let's call him Max, rolled down his window and stared at my friend and I for about 15 seconds. Feeling uncomfortable, I asked who he was there to pick up, to be cautious, and he said my name. My friend and I hopped into the back seat of the car. Once we closed the doors, the first thing Max did was look at us in the rear view mirror and said, "This is going to be a real nice ride with two pretty girls in my car." The way Max said this sent chills down my spine. My friend and I probably showed our discomfort because quickly after he tried to tell us that he didn't mean it in that way. However, he had already given us bad vibes, and because of this, I wanted to get rid of the awkward silence, so I began to start conversation. As we drove, we went through the back roads of rural Massachusetts, and it was dark, no streetlights whatsoever. I asked why it was so dark, and Max had chuckled and told us, "Yeah, it's so dark that I would drive into that ditch and no one would ever know." Alarm bells started ringing in my head, but we had only 20 minutes left. Max had begun to say how much he would miss us and stuff. We kept quiet. Meanwhile, I was looking at Google Maps on my phone to make sure he didn't try anything, and of course he decided to make a right turn instead of left. I told him he was going the wrong way, and as he told us he wasn't. I assured him it was the wrong way, and he got angry. He began telling us how he met his wife because his friend cheated on her, and he found her in a bar or something. Then he told us that his wife makes him so mad that he wants to strangle her. My heart sank when I heard this, but we were 5 minutes away. When we arrived to the Airbnb, Max started to take off his seatbelt and told us he could help with our other luggage in the back. However, neither one of us put anything there. We only had book bags. My friend and I quickly got out and walked away, and Max turned off his engine and told us, "I'll keep you in touch." We went into the Airbnb and I reported him and deleted my Uber account. Number 3. Crazy or drugged man chased me. I'm a 16-year-old female and my family recently adopted a 1-year-old dog from the shelter. We live near a park that has a small enclosed area for dogs. I started taking my new dog to the enclosed area and he enjoyed it a lot, so it became an everyday thing. I have been taking him to this park for a few months now. I've never seen anyone weird there. Then again, I've never seen anyone there at all, mostly because I go right before the sun sets. I know that's probably dumb for me as a young girl to go to a park all alone when it's near dark, but I live in a relatively safe area, and I've always been super cautious, trusting my gut if I see something weird going on. Plus, my dog is super big and quite intimidating at first glance. The day this happened, I took my dog to the park like normal. I got into the enclosed area, shut the gates, and sat down as my dog started sniffing around, doing his own thing. I was scrolling through my phone when I glanced up, noticing my dog was intently staring at something in the distance. I thought he may have seen a rabbit or something dart by and tried to get his attention, but he wouldn't budge. I rolled my eyes and continued looking at my phone again. Seconds later, I heard my dog growling lowly. Even though he's big and sorta intimidating, he's never been a guard dog. He never barks and definitely has never growled, so we just thought he's not that kind of dog. So when I heard him growl, I knew there was definitely something up. I looked to see what he was staring at, and it was a man in the distance. As he got closer, I noticed how weird he was acting. He was looking up at the sky and was shouting and biting at the air. He was also swinging his arms around. He sorta acted like one of those crazy zombies from the video games or movies. I felt super uncomfortable and started getting extremely nervous. I didn't think he noticed me and decided it was time to leave. I approached my dog to put his leash on, but he dodged me and started running around, his eye on the man the entire time. I quietly but sternly said his name, but he wouldn't stop running around. I started growing more nervous. The man didn't notice us, but I was worried that he would, with all the noise my dog was making. Then exactly what I didn't want to happen, happened. My dog started barking extremely loudly. The man snapped his head towards us in the creepiest way possible. He was facing away from us, but when he heard barking, his head just moved in the quickest way possible, his body still facing the other way. He stared at us for what seemed like forever, and then started walking towards us. His walk was the creepiest thing I've possibly ever seen. His upper half was extremely stiff and slightly turned away, while his feet were hastily dragging on the ground. He was staring at us the whole time. I don't think I ever saw him blink once. I was now yelling at my dog to stop running and to come over. He still wouldn't listen, and I knew I couldn't just leave him there. I finally was able to corner my dog. I put his leash on, opened the gate and ran. My dog was pulling so hard trying to go towards the guy. The guy was also getting closer and closer to us. I had no idea how. I was full on running, and this man didn't once even lift his feet off the ground, just dragging them. He then began shouting again. His eyes were open so wide I thought they were gonna bulge out of his head. He opened his mouth wide. I didn't even think it was humanly possible. I just remember the way his teeth looked. They were rotted, most of them a disgusting brown shade. I continued running, losing him when I got in my neighborhood. I ran into my house and locked the door. I peeked out all the windows but didn't see him. That night, as I was going to sleep, I began to hear shouting. The same shouting from the men earlier that day. I dug down below my window and glanced out onto the street. I saw him. He was in the middle of the street, dragging his feet along. I crawled back into my bed, even though I knew I wouldn't sleep. I don't know if this man was insane or just on drugs, but regardless, I hope I never meet him again. Alright, that's it. Hope you enjoyed these Reddit stories, and I promise my next video should have more effort into it. And yeah, see you in the next one.